There's a direct correlation between racism and narcissism. Narcissism is classified by a grandiose sense of self, thinking that you're better than somebody else. It is also classified by a lack of empathy or low empathy or just cognitive empathy. There's also high antagonism, meaning that you're always looking for a fight. There is also kind of confusion making, gaslighting. So when you're called out on your behavior, you will kind of reverse the victim offender. So if somebody says what you did to me was harmful, you're going to be like, well, you're too sensitive, i.e. my ex-father-in-law, whenever I told him that him saying that black people can't rule themselves and they need white people to rule them, when I said that that was harmful and that I felt hurt that he said that, he flipped it and said, you're being too sensitive. Now, this was years ago, and I remember speaking up about it, and I've since then spoke up so much about racism here on the island of Ireland, both north and south. Both north and south, because people in the comments are like, Irish people can't be racist. Yes, even Catholic native Irish people can be and have been racist. Now, up north, the racism that I put up with and have endured most of has come from the Protestant loyalist side. Have I gone through racism with Irish Catholic people up here? Yes. Yes, but it's usually more nuanced, more kind of microaggression, not the kind of loud, angry, burn you out of your house. But this time we have seen violence on both sides, that kind of violence. Coming back to racism and narcissism, when you believe that you are better than somebody else, when you believe that somebody else is less human than you will do anything, including harming yourself, to destroy them. Somebody has told white Irish people, Northern Irish people, British people, white people, somewhere along the line of history, that they were better, and they bought into the lies. White people are not better than black people. There was a time that I believed that they were, because I was taught the same through colonialism. But they're not better than black people. And black people are not more violent than white people. Now, history shows us, white people's history shows us just how violent white people can be. The only difference is when a black person commits a crime, we're judged more harshly. We're judged more violently, and we're judged collectively. Because if we were to collect the sins and the violence, especially of white men, the white race would be paying way more. The sins of Hitler, the sins of Donald Trump and Nigel Farage, the sins of Elon Musk, the sins of Bertie Ahern, the sins of every single cis white man that has ever lived and that has weaponized their power and privilege, white people would have so much more to pay for. And yet here we are. Black and brown people and all sorts of people do not hold white people to the same standard. And even good white people remain silent in times like these. Good white people who on Saturday and Sunday are going to be in churches singing grace and whatever else. You're going to be silent about this. You're going to be indifferent about this. You're going to minimize this and say, oh, sure, look at, maybe he shouldn't have done that. And yet, not too long ago. And actually, oftentimes, white men commit more crimes against men and women. They use knives just as much, if not more, than black men. And the reaction is never the same. And I'll never forget the woman. I've forgotten her name in this moment. A white woman in Donaghadee that was killed by a man with her baby in her womb. The Ballymena riots had just happened not even a month before. And then this woman gets killed, and white people were silent, and they let the system deal with it. There are many things that you will never convince me of again. You'll never convince me that white people are better, because they're not. I'm not saying that we're better, but I know that white people are not better. You'll never convince me that black people are more violent, because we're not. I know that for a fact. I'm not saying white people are, but I know we're not more than. You'll never convince me that I'm ugly again. You'll never convince me that my features are ugly again. You'll never convince me that I'm a burden to a system that has been built on the backs of black and brown people throughout centuries. You'll never convince me that I'm a burden to a system that the royal crown still wears jewelry, still holds jewelry from our countries. You'll never convince me that Africa is poor and that Africans are a burden to these countries when you continue to exploit Africa, when white people, and especially white British people, will not let go of Africa. You will never convince me that taking my kids out of school to protect them from racism is me going crazy and finding my identity in motherhood only, because I know what I did was right, and I will keep choosing to protect my kids from people and people's children who refuse to do their inner anti-racist work. You will never, ever convince me that Ireland is not racist, both north and south. You will never convince me that my life doesn't matter, because my life matters, and every black and brown person's lives matter. You will never convince me that racism does not exist. You'll never convince me that I'm too sensitive ever again, because this is the third year in a row that you've burned people out of their houses, that you've had black and brown people scared shitless, and that's excluding the daily racism that we endure, being called the N-word while wiping white people's bums, being called the N-word while doing youth work by a young person and a white woman standing by, being called the N-word while shopping, just going in to get frozen food from Iceland and being called the N-word multiple times. I'm so grateful for our allies. I'm so grateful to every single white person that is doing stuff to make this end. But I'm disappointed in Stormont, hence the court case against them for not implementing the racial strategy of 2015 to 2025. And now they want to give us a half-arsed attempt to whatever. I'm disappointed in Stormont, disappointed in the PSNI. I have no faith, no trust. And I have to say, I have very little trust in most white people, and not just in this country, but across the globe, because of the continued harm and how easy it is for you to dehumanize us for the actions of just one man. It's almost as if you're always waiting, always ready to cause harm to us. It is absurd. It is wrong. And you'll never convince me that I'm wrong ever again.